numerous universities. Well, for getting an exam, for getting an admission into a good university, around 6.5 in all the four parameters should be the minimum criteria, and not less than 6. What is for immigration? Yes, for Canada, if you say example, it is CLB, that is Canadian Language Benchmark. What we say, that should be 9, which is listening, reading, writing, and speaking as 8,777. Okay, listening in 8. The total IELTS exam is conducted in 9 with 9 bands, which is the highest. So 8 should be in listening, and reading, writing, and speaking should be 777 respectively. For Australia, if you are directly immigrating for, you say for immigration, it should be 8 in every other parameter. Language is only one of the parameters which is there for immigration. Okay. Now, as I told you, a human being communicates in 2 ways. That is understanding and reproducing. So we'll discuss these two aspects differently. So general test format is there are 4 sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. In listening, you have 40 questions with 33 minutes. Reading, you have 40 questions with 60 minutes of your time. Writing, you have 2 tasks. That is 60, which gives you which has 60 minutes allotted to it. And speaking, which is mostly a day or a day, another, which is being what to say, which is being delivered, or which is being tested a day before or day after, between above and with the listening, reading, and writing exam. So for IELTS types, now there are 2 types of IELTS, which is academic and general training. What is the difference between these two? For academics, this is mostly given by students who wants to go abroad or to study direct stream. There is differences. Listening and reading would be same. Writing, you have in which you have 2 tasks. The task one would be different. In academics, you have a report writing, which consists of 150 words, and in general training, you have the task as letter writing, which is a task one. The task 2, which is a composition or an essay for 250 words, remains the same. So for there you go for academic and general training. So yes, we just talk about the indicators theory. Well, indicators, if you say your parents should be very indicating you or say you that you have to do these all things when you grow up. But yes, for IELTS, you have to be very particular in what you select and what you don't select. So this is the indicators theory. I'll only discuss band 6 and above indicators theory. Okay. So indicators, what they signify. If you have a band 6, then you are a competent user. That is, you have an effective use of your language. You describe or you understand the language very easily. You have less inaccuracies. You do things. You make fairly complex sentences with very little error. And yes, you have a very okay use, like you have an average use over your language. 7 is a good user, 8 is a very good user, and 9 is an expert user, as indicated. And this is a standardized, indicators which is given directly from the British Council or from the IDP exam. It is and IELTS, if you tell you, it is conducted by Cambridge University, and this is the parameters, the standard parameters which are given by them. So if you take these things into consideration, I would say you are good to go. Now, if you see, there are very many things which should be taken in mind. I will also go for. So what are the practical applications? If you say the practical approaches, I would say I should be that person, because a test shells out 14,000 from your bank account. So if I say preparation with hard work and somewhat of smart work can give you the desired score, what you want to be or what you want to achieve in your IELTS exam. So I would also recommend that if you practice it very thoroughly, and if you do it in a once, it will be very beneficial for you. Now listening, see, there are many students who come across uh, or who find difficulty in the listening module. So that can be that can be challenging because there are many other pronunciation things. There are different pronunciation. For example, if you say Canadian pronunciation or Australian pronunciation, how they pronounce words in US. Okay, so if you say in Canada, they use the word in a very short way, just like what we use in India as chalta hai. Okay, in Australia, they use the word "o" in a very different way, as you say, as there in US. Okay, so there are many types of pronunciation which can be a tricky situation in which students have problem. Second, I would say there are very audio clips which are available online, which have different accents and tones. So if you have something which you can easily repeat or easily hear on your head or on your under your ears, I guess that would be a very pro tip. Focus is what needed in this section, I would say. We have a very different or filtered reading, a filtered hearing nowadays. We hear things which we want to, and we don't hear things we don't want to. So I would not say your eardrums are bad or selective. I would say in that 15 or 33 minutes what you get in your exam, you should be thoroughly focused and thoroughly what to say into the job. Okay, so what pro tips I can give you? I can give you pro tips that there are there are many online webs, there are many online news channels like BBC News, or you can say Fox News, okay, which are there available free online, where you can go and you can hear them. There are documentaries, that is Discovery or National Geographic documentaries, which you can see and hear the notes on and make notes on it. There are interviews on YouTube, like Oprah Winfrey interviews or Jim Carrey, what to say, stand-up comedy, something like that, in which you will get more, in which you will be very polished with your pronunciation part. You will hear these voices and you will get very, you will grasp that thing. I would also, which I had, this is the practical application which I have already done it. I was to hear songs or text at 1.25x speed. And yes, and then I used to try to recollect those songs and those to try to recollect that as what they have said. Because on the actual exam, when you appear for listening test, that would be very slow. You will feel that way because you have already done it in a very fast pace. Okay. And yes, if there are four sections of listening part. The third section is mostly there are two persons talking. Okay, and you have to judge and you have to fill in the blanks in that point of time. So what you can do, you have to live the conversation. In the sense, you have see what you see and what you hear should be in front of your eyes. So you should imagine that conversation having in front of your eyes so that you can easily grasp or easily analyze what the other person wants to say. And yes, I would also say in that actual exam, when you try the listening exam, try to read the text which is ahead of the recording playing, so that you can mark the keywords, and when you hear the recording, you can easily what to say connect the keywords with the conversation. Okay. Okay, now we'll go to reading part. The reading is mostly, if you say in academic and general reading is the same, which involves the following things. First, you have to fast read. Second, you have to take the useful information. You don't have to go word by word or paragraph by paragraph to get your reading score done, or to get the readings done. Okay, you should minus the clutter which is there and which makes you a very fast or a arid reader. It is time bound. See, there are 40 questions and there are around, if you say, 4 paragraphs. So you need to read, if you say, around 20 to 30 odd words per per minute. So that reading plus analyzing in your mind makes you a bigger task. For that reason, I told you skim and scan would be the best technique. Okay. So if you say for passive, for reading, if you want to do a practice or what is a very specific things, you should read magazines, you should read newspapers, you should read blogs from different other personalities, so that that can be, because the reading pattern what you get from varied fields. So it would be a it would be very easy for you to connect at that point of time. So what is the pro tip I can give you? I would say no cramming, as I discussed. No, don't go word by word. Just skim and scan and search for keywords in between. And yes, if you read above the keywords or below the keywords, I would say 70% of the answers or answers lie in that. First, read the questions. First, read the question which is there in the passage, and then go by the path, and then try to read the passage. Second thing, uh, secondly, if you know the answer, write the correct spelling, please. So because in the IELTS exam, you know the answer, but if the spelling is wrong, you will not get the marks for it. So I would also advise you to write the answers uppercase, so that in it is easy to to check, and it is easy to see what you have already written, the spelling and look for paraphrasing synonyms. There are many questions. There are many what to say questions which are there in the passage which looks for paraphrasing. That is, for example, if you have a passage and there is a question, so you might have to look it in the other way, which is a paraphrasing of synonym. For example, I'm at a countryside, or I'm near the villages, or I'm at the rural area. That should be the thing. For there are two questions. There are two, what to say, type of question in which there are headings and there are true or false. And specifically would be saying about these two, as because heading questions, you should not be matching words. Okay, this should be a general idea, general gist of the passage, which looks and which gives you the heading of that particular passage. So I would say, I would recommend you guys to look at the paragraph and see the general idea of the text, and then match headings. Don't just add up words or match words in the paragraph. That will not fetch you marks. Third, but last but not last, true or false not given. Look for annotations. Look for negations also, because sometimes the sentence, the question given may be true, but that negation would be given in the passage. So I would say analyze the sentence correctly, and then you are good to go. Now we'll go to the speaking part. The speaking, which, as I told you, takes place, the exam takes place one day ahead or one day after the reading, writing, and listening exam. So what four parameters are taken into this exam? Fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. Let's go one by one. What do you mean by fluency and coherence? Well, when the question is asked, I would say it should be fluent and coherent to the question. To the speaker, what the speaker asks you the question, the person who is giving the exam should be coherent, in the sense he should speak on the same lines of the topic. He should not diverge, or he should not deflect from the topic. He should be fluent, in the sense he should be, first of all, very confident, very speaking dressed appropriately, and yes, he should be looking into the front of the speaker's eyes and then speaking. Second, lexical resource. Lexical resource is language. Okay, language, how well you can use your language. You should have present, past, future, present continuous, everything into that particular paragraph, or that particular, what to say, utter of words in which you will be using your language skills. Grammatical range and accuracy. That would be, if you can use, for example, grammatical range and accuracy is mostly how you use your grammar, how you use your mainly the correct form of pronunciation, the correct form of words, the correct form of what to say, comma, semicolon, that way. And pronunciation is mostly how you utter your words from your mouth. That is, for example, if I say who, okay. So if I would say what or water, water is mostly, or water is spelled water, okay, but that is water, which is pronounced in UK. We say here in India is water. So that should be the thing. What pro tip I can give you is speaking formally and slowly. That would say the person should be able to, or the test taker should be able to hear you properly and should also get your words correctly. Give a full answer. And this would be mostly linked to coherence. The parts which the speaker has told you should be in the speaker has told you the parts, that is three parts or two parts, whatever it may be. The person should speak the full answer. He should be able to answer all the parts of the exam. I would say for practice, you should try to communicate with the person who has a good command over the language, so that he or she can correct you in between. You should also have a good posture. You can dress in formals. You can dress appropriately for the occasion, so that gives you confidence, and that gives you a what to say, a self attitude thing. What the speaker or the it's because it's an interview. It's a one-on-one interview. The speaker, the observer looks at you and then talks with you in that manner. I should also say explain foreign words like Hyderabad, or I'm from Chunavati, Mumbai. So what it is? Okay, Chunavati is a place. Hyderabad, where I'm from. I'm from Banjara Hills. So it's a smart. You can tell them, or you can explain the word. Like for example, if the speaker asks me, "Where are you from?" So I would say, "I'm from a beautiful city of Vadodara, staying at Manjalpur, which is a small, what to say, a district at no at if you located at south of Vadodara." Okay. So that would be the correct answer, or the complete answer, if you say. Use of slang is a strict no, because it deducts your marks, and it doesn't feel good, or this is not appropriate enough in a formal setting. Do not memorize answers. Well, if you memorize answers, the speaker would be easily able to make out that you have done it. Like for example, that there are fixed questions in speaking language. That is, where you from, what do you do, what are your aspirations. These are very these are introductory questions. Okay, which the speaker expects a normal, natural answer from you, not a mugged up answer. The content of you is not judged, so be creative. For example, if I say, give me a explain me a situation in which you were very much afraid, but yes, you took that thing in a very positive. So I would not say where I was, like I met an accident and I was afraid to go to the hospital. I would be saying, yes, I wanted to do an adventure. Explain that adventure thoroughly, and yes, what aspirations or what positive thing you got post that will be your answer. So that if you make the content as a story, the speaker will also be getting indulged in it. Okay, wherein you can show your lexical resource, that is the range of language you can use. You can use your grammatical accuracy, because the adventure which I did was in the past, but what I'm explaining is in the present. Okay, so I can go in the past, the adventure. What I'm telling you is in the can be a present, and what further adventures I can I do in the near future, I can also explain. So that shows the grammatical range you have in your language. Okay, and yes, pronunciation is mostly for practice. So now we'll go to the most difficult part, in which students have a very what to say, a very afraid. They're very scared and afraid for this thing. That is writing. So just like what we discussed in speaking, writing also takes, or you can say, are judged into four parts. That is task response, coherence, grammatical range, and lexical resource. So there are as I already explained you, in academics there are two tasks, and in general training there are two tasks. In academic there is a report writing with an essay. In general training there is letter and there is essay. Okay. So task response, that is doing the task every time, performing the task and completing the answer, giving a correct answer or giving a complete answer in all the thing, in what to say, in all the responses, giving 100% answer in all the parts. Coherence and cohesion would be giving an appropriate answer, okay, with an example, with your opinion. Grammatical range accuracy, as discussed, giving range of accuracy, giving range of grammars, that is present tense, past tense, future tense, accompanied with comma, semicolon, everything, and your lexical resource, the language you use, the most synonyms and antonyms you use in the language. That gives you a what to say, uh, makes you in charge or gives you a better score, a better band. Okay. So what is the pro tip? Well, have a varied, go and read about varied topics. Okay. Learn, read good books. Okay. Read biographies. Which gives you a what to say, thing which can improvise, which gives you a very good approach towards writing, and take a process oriented approach. Now, what do you mean by process oriented approach? Well, there is a fixed, what to say, a fixed writing format, what we at Blue Ribbon does it. And so let's discuss that. It's part of our training program. And so how Blue Ribbon is going to take that thing, let me discuss it once, and then I think you will be able to follow it better. So this is what we use as a golden format. Okay, it can be one thing which is, what to say, a small what to say, a small idea of our pedagogy, and yes, it can also be used as an example. So I would say some education. There is a topic which was there in 2020 academic. I guess it was at around in March paper. Sorry, it was in a July paper, July 2020 academic paper. The topic was, some educationists think that international exchange visits will benefit teenagers at the school level. To what extent do the advantage outweigh the disadvantages? Well, I would be paraphrasing the topic statement, which will make my first paragraph of the topic of the essay body. The topic would be mostly explained or done will be in 250 words. Okay, max to 270 words you can write. You can write this essay. So I would be paraphrasing the topic statement, which is some, I think international exchange rates are good and are beneficial to students at the school level, and that's what educationists and academicians think about it. This is paraphrasing the topic statement. And support statement I will add as, yes, and indeed, I would also at my point of time, I would also be very much keen on going on an international. Then we'll go with the first paragraph. That is, we'll use a connector. That is, as connectors I'll discuss later on. We'll go for two ideas. That is, what are the advantages? The second part of the topic is, to what extent do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? First, I'll discuss the advantages. That is, how this benefit the students. That is, they get an international exposure. They are more to international learning. They get open with other cultures, and they have another level of thinking post when they grow up. Okay, these will can be advantages. What are disadvantages? Well, students are not that mature to go abroad and travel. They can indulge in other activities which are not well suited for their for in the form of Indian context or Indian culture. That way, the students can also they are not able to keep up with their own selves, and so they cannot manage their own selves. That can be a counter idea, and that personal view will be my own view, what I think about it. See, the paragraphs which you have written, okay, to support the idea one, idea two, or counter idea, you should also support with an example. Okay, so I have not told them, but yes, it has to be with example. Now, with my personal view, I would suggest in my view, or in what I feel is would be like, students would be easy. Students are very talented, and students can expand their horizons by traveling abroad and having a international visit. But at the same time, they should be very much careful about their own being there, and they should also be considering other outlays also. Okay. I can also, I will explain this with an example, and yes, I'll end the format. Okay, that is totally in 250 or 270 odd, right? So now let's have other vocabulary things which are coming through. Let's have other examples which are coming through, what we teach at Blue Ribbon. So this is the first thing what we, this is one of the things what we see, or what we say, preach to our students, what we teach to our students, that to use connectors, which is very, very important in the form of writing part, writing an essay or writing a report or writing a letter. Okay. So this is first, what are connectors? So connectors are mostly the what to say, words which are used to link two similar sentences or two similar elements in a sentence. They are mostly used in the beginning of the passage, and they set the tone. For example, if I say, if I, in the first example, if I come down this way for the international exchange part, I will use to begin with. Okay, for connector has advantage as to begin with. Students have a very good or a very they can spread their horizons. To begin with, students can spread their horizons for with an international visit. As quote there with an example. To add on or furthermore, okay, which is comparison, or what to say, to add. Okay. Furthermore, students can also go and look after other, they can also look into varied fields, and they can also be a part of their what to say, another another they can also take up another job, another sector they want to. Okay, so these are what to say are connectors. Secondly, if connectors are also used in comparison, for example, similarly, comparable, these are type of use. They used to contrast. Contrast in the sense, if I want to write the disadvantages, I can use counter connectors to tell you contrasts. Okay, that is, however, students are not able to manage themselves abroad, but alternatively, they can go to, to excursions which are safe, or what to say, monitored by parents that way. And yes, so and yes, at the last, if I want to give my personal opinion, I would use okay. So in short, or to sum up, okay, to sum up, I would say at my purview, with my opinion, I would say students should, I would give my opinion, and yes, I will also quote it with an example. So this is how connectors are used. Okay, and that's what we teach at Blue Ribbon. What to say, a second example, that what is paraphrasing, which is very, very much used in writing. Okay, so it is mostly formulating the same idea in your own words without changing the original text. And yes, uh, keeping the, keeping the tone, or keeping the English language, every rule and everything occupied. Okay? So what to say, we have under one sentence. Some people say that ebooks tech and modern technology can totally replace traditional books and magazine. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So this is what I have done with the paraphrasing with a support statement. You can read it, and you can let me know. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. Right. So this is mostly a sentence which has to be paraphrased in another way. Okay. So without changing the original meaning of the sentence. Right. So this is how it goes. Now, there are many, many things wherein people say that you have to be a pro, or you have to be, a English user to totally make that thing happen, to or to crack ads in the first statement. Well, I wouldn't say there are some strategies, there are something which are needed to crack ads, which are used, which are mainly taught and which are mainly practiced at Blue Ribbon. How we give IELTS coaching would be mostly at this way. Okay. So what we deliver at Blue Ribbon. Blue Ribbon is a Blue Ribbon overseas education consultant. We are 18-year-old company. As I told you, based out in Hyderabad as a corporate office. And yes, we have head office at New York. If you say for international offices. We have offices in US, Canada, UK, Germany, and Dubai. And for in India, we have present in 18 branches. So what we do, we take diagnostic test for every candidate. Okay, when that person enrolls in with us, we take diagnostic text so that we can also judge, or we can also make a study plan accordingly. We have a customized study plan for every level of, because every level user, the language user, what the person comes in, has to be has to be first, yeah, measured, and then the level should be then taken up. Okay, we also only have only 20 students at a batch, so that individual attention is taken or given to every other candidate. We do a writing practice in which the remarks and comments are given to the candidates with their spelling and grammatical errors, as I told you earlier. We have a speaking practice in which when we do a speaking practice, we send recordings to each candidate after practice, so that that person can hear his or her own voice and can improvise on it. We have a full course test before the actual exam, because that gives you a thorough, walkthrough for the total exam, for the whole exam which is being done, or which is how it takes place. So you have a feel before the live exam. You have a feel at your own. We have you can feel the whole exam at your own at your own ease, at your own place. Okay. So we have and yes, we have an English foundation course which has an exam focus approach. For example, the paraphrasing or the connector part which I discussed are part of the English foundation course, which gives you, we don't, we, if you say in at Blue Ribbon at our learning center, we don't give the total, Brennan Martin, or, the total English foundation. We only give them things or strategies which has to be studied and which has to be thoroughly taught, or at for giving the exam, or giving you the, or, to get the desired score. So what is the, if you say what is the fees for coaching for IELTS, that is for 10,000 rupees for 4 attempts, for 4 months or 2 attempts. We'll support you for 2 attempts. Okay, for English language course, we charge 6,000. Okay, for 4 months. And if the candidate enrolls in both the exam, both the coaching, that is IELTS coaching and English foundation, the course is offered at rupees 15,000. Right? Okay. So this is the mostly a what to say, an overall universities thing, wherein we can also wherein Blue Ribbon has tie-ups, or you can say Blue Ribbon has sent students. Okay, we have around 250 universities tie-ups across countries, in which we are processing files for them. We have an active database of around 2,000 students, where when we have sent students from our particular visa consultancy. We have students who are studying abroad, when we can also connect them at our own time. If the student comes in and he wants to take up the first hand experience, yes, we can provide it, okay, at our own office. So I'll just discuss Australia, Canada, and United Kingdom, what IELTS score these universities takes, okay, or these universities accepts. So for example, the top 40 universities, I would say, would take a 7 score, a 7 band IELTS score to get admission, and not less than 6.5 in each module. Like you say, for Australia, it is University of Melbourne. For Canada, it is University of Toronto. And for the UK, the Oxford University takes around 7 or 7.5. The masters, the art course, or the PhD course, if you want to pursue University of Oxford, they take 7.5 and or above in modules, not less than 7. Okay. Similarly, if you want to go from 40 to 90, top 40 to top 90, top 40 from top for top 40 universities, it is the IELTS score is 7 band, okay, overall. And for 40 to 90, it is around 6.5. As you can say, for Australia, it is University of Queensland. For Canada, it is University of British Columbia. And for United Kingdom, it is Imperial College London. Okay, so that way. So what are the minimum requirements for these, for these countries I will just discuss it. For Australia, it is for bachelor's degree, you need a 6.5 band in all the sections, not less than 6 in each section. For pre-masters, you need a 6 band. For master, you need a 6.5. Similarly, you can see other two. Now, I'll just discuss this part. What is pre-masters? So, in abroad studies, if a student is done with his bachelor's, he goes for training, he goes for internship, or he goes for a work, he goes for work before attempting a master, because students wants to get into a taste or want to apply their bachelor's, what you're studying in the bachelor's degree. So pre-master is mostly a 1 year course in which students gets a certificate, or it which gets a certificate, as well as small appreciation of what they have done in their work or in their college, and that better gives you a feel, or what to say, an introduction or a space in the master's degree. The pre-master is done mostly by students in United Kingdom because they have the work permit, or they can work full time post their bachelor's. So they do a pre-master once, and post that they if they want to they want to pursue masters, they do a masters after that. Okay. So this is our address, and we are there at Akota. Okay, and this is our FB page. Please go and show some love at our FB page and Instagram page. And this is my contact details. And you can. I'm open now. My what to say? My presentation is over. I'm open for answer. I'm open for questions now. You can write it. You can write it on. You can, or you can judge. You can just on your mic, and you can just ask me questions now. I'll wait for you, guys. Or you can write on the chat box. I'm open to questions, answering questions, and giving you other what to say information. So you can write on the chat box, and or you can directly on your mic, and given I'll see that. Okay. So Piyush Mehta has told me asked me one question, as his younger brother wants to know, is it advisable to go to Canada after 12th, or one should go after graduation? Well, if I say your brother he's in 12th standard right now, he would mostly be looking for UK, because UK has a work permit associated with bachelor's, and it is very easy. Okay, if the person wants to migrate outside, it's very easy for him to go post 12th also. And if yes, if the student is if your brother or if your student is already done with his graduation, he can go to Canada, so that and get a 2 year course, so that he gets a 3 year work permit over there. And yes, he can then, if he wants to immigrate, he can look or he can file his nomination under Canadian experience class. For UK, if you're there at UK and if you're present at UK for 5 years, yes, you are eligible for PR. So for 12, post 12th, you can easily go and settle down in UK with your bachelor's degree. Thank you, Piyush, for your question. Any other person who wants to chat, or who wants to ask their queries are welcome. Hello. Any other person? Well, how much amount is needed for graduation in UK? I would say it would be around, if you say 18 to 17 lakhs, that would be the minimum account to get graduation in UK. Okay, recorded video. Okay, so I'll tell my outreach team or the marketing team to look into this. And yes, no problem. For any other questions, you can call on my number. which is there, or else you can visit our office at Apota. So Dhir, are you from Vadodara? So we can have a conversation on this thing. We can give you a webinar's recorded video. I'll ask my marketing team or outreach team to connect with you. What the total cost of post graduation, including all process? Which country you are specifying in? Which country? Like if you say for Canada, it is around 20 to 22 lakhs. For UK, it is around 18 lakhs. For US, it can be more depending on the university. Okay, so which country are you specifying? And yes, it includes your tuition fees, your accommodation fees. Okay, so there you can it is there. So there it's a complete amount, right? 22 lakhs, 18 to 22 lakh can be a thing what you're looking for. Well, yes, Akash, you can easily get a marketing degree abroad if you are completed. More or less, it would be mostly for with a statement of purpose, because you are an engineer grad, okay, here in India, and you want to pursue marketing, or you have to change your field. It's a sector change, or you can say a profile change. What you're looking for or abroad studies, the things, the what you say, the parameters, that is SOP, letter of recommendation, statement of purpose. This has to be properly documented to get you admission, which what we do in at Blue Ribbon. So we will guide our students, we'll guide our we guide our people over here how to make how to make an attractive resume, how to make the documents well, so that you get accepted, or you get you get accepted, or you get a sure admission in that particular university or that particular course. Now post post work permit after graduation in UK. Post work permit after graduation is if you say you get 3 years of work permit post graduation, and where you can work full time. Now there is a catch. Students, if you say, can also your parents can also be the dependents. If you say you are if the person is married and wants to immigrate out, he can use he can go with his wife or with his spouse, so that the spouse also get a dependent visa. So it is very advisable for you to go to UK if you are looking for after graduation. Okay, if the person is married also, that can also be a thing. So you get a 3 years work permit post your graduation in UK, which is nice, because if the course is of 2 years, you get a 3 years work permit, and that completes of 5 years, which is very very good for immigrating, for settling there at United Kingdom. Any other queries, people, students? Any other thing where can help you out, guys? So, guys, I would say I'm looking at any other questions. I am open to discussion. I am open to, I have more 10 minutes with me, so I'm open to discussion. So I am open to giving you advice and something like that. You are open, you can on your mic and you can also speak with me directly. Okay. Himmat has asked that he wants to know about full visa process for Canada. Well, Himmat, I would say for full visa process, there are many basic requirements. That is your graduation degree with transcripts, your IELTS score, your interest, or which particular province you are into. So I would say, or I would recommend you to speak to me once over phone, or you can easily come to our and visit our Akota office here at Vadodara. So we will guide you, our counselors will guide you throughout the V Canada process, and and depending on your interest, depending on your field of job you're working in, so that will help you better take that will help you take informed decisions. So I would recommend you to please come at our office and visit us. You can book an appointment with my number, or with my number which is given. You can book an appointment and come accordingly. Anyone else, guys?
ऐसे वाली बात नहीं है तो वो कमर में ढके खड़ा है।
Anyone else who wants to, you can directly on your mic, and or you can write on the chat box for your queries. Okay, guys. Now, next 5 minutes, I would be here, and then we'll be wrapping it up. So, any other queries? I'm open now, so that I can discuss it, or you guys can book an appointment and come down to our Akota Center, in which our counselors will give you thorough knowledge. So we deal with US, UK, Canada, Australia. What to say, in the Middle East, we have Dubai. We in the southeastern country we have Singapore, Malaysia, in which you can go on a student visa, or you can pursue higher education over there. Our counselors will totally guide you in all the processing, or all the, what to say, a thorough process, a walkthrough about the process and about the fees and everything. So you can come down to uh, our Kota office, and yes, we will guide you throughout and totally. So now, yes. So guys, thank you and for attending this. I would say it was nice helping you out for sharing my experiences. I guess there would be someone or something I would add value to your 1 hour what I took, and it was nice interacting with you guys. It was nice knowing about you guys, that you have so much queries about IELTS. And yes, at Blue Ribbon we are totally what to say, we are open to give you guidance to make you able to crack IELTS, and yes, to help you build a career abroad, or to make you to get into your dream university. So thank you guys once again, and have a lovely weekend ahead. And yes, uh, IELTS can be done in one shot, but yet it needs a little bit of practice and focus. Thank you guys. Thank you once again. I'm now sure anyone else for the last couple of questions. I'm open, or else I'll wrap up. Okay. So thank you very much for your time and patience for bearing with me. And yes, it's a long goodbye. We'll see you at somewhere in the office if you're interested, or you can directly call on this particular number which I have already shared with you. Okay. So thank you guys. Thank you very much for your time. Have a lovely weekend and bye. Bye. Yeah.